Everybody is talking about artificial intelligence, specifically ChatGPT, and how this is going to change the world. But very few are talking about the actual present dangers that come from this very disruptive technology. Especially if you are unfamiliar with AI, you need to watch this video as I explain a study we recently conducted that sort of broke the internet. People are sort of freaking out, and rightfully so in my opinion, because this study shows exactly how vulnerable you are to the threat of artificial intelligence. After I explain the very specific threat that artificial intelligence poses to all of us, I will be providing you with a series of specific things that you can do about it. So have no fear as we march on into the strange, sometimes dark, always very overwhelming world of artificial intelligence. Technology is disruptive. It breaks things. It takes markets by surprise, and it takes years, sometimes decades, for people to really grasp the implications of new technologies. Take, for example, the car. An improvement over the horse, to be sure, but after the invention of the automobile, it took people years to realize that these steel death traps on wheels should probably require a license. For example, California, which is of course known for its car culture, did not require that drivers pass an exam until 1927. It wasn't until the 1970s that seatbelt laws were instituted widely across the US. Most Americans didn't take drunk driving seriously until the 1980s. And there wasn't broad awareness about the dangers of texting or talking while driving until very recently. If we take our example of the car, this once novel technology, and assume, I think safely based on history, that we are going to be slow to adapt to new technologies, you can understand why I'm a little freaked out about AI. Today, AI is essentially the Wild West all over again, except this time there's only a handful of sheriffs trying to police a global laser fight with a handful of rocks. Now that's probably a pretty bad analogy, but what I want to illustrate is the exponential, overwhelming nature of artificial intelligence. And let me give you one very simple example where AI could affect you today: your passwords. This all started with a simple question: what will happen if I run 15.6 million passwords through a generative adversarial network, or GAN, and measure how long it takes to crack each password on a timescale ranging from minutes to quintillions of years? Just kidding. Basically, in layman's terms, what I wanted to find out is this: how long would it take an AI to crack a variety of commonly used passwords? Luckily, I happen to have access to tens of millions of them thanks to a company called RockYou. Thank you, RockYou. RockYou was a company that built widgets for social networking sites back in the day. Sites like MySpace, shout out Tom, and Facebook. Well, these were the early Wild West days of social networking, and RockYou was playing fast and loose. And in 2009, hackers accessed their company servers and made off with a database storing 32 million passwords in plain text, all because the company hadn't patched a 10-year-old SQL database vulnerability. Ugh. Now, the one good thing to come out of all of this chaos is we now have access to the entire database of RockYou passwords. And this provided me and my team at Home Security Heroes with an incredible data set to run this study on. End to end, this took us about 3 weeks, and essentially what we did is we took all RockYou passwords ranging from 4 to 18 characters. This amounted to 15.6 million passwords, and we ran them through an open source program called PassGAN. PassGAN is an artificial intelligence that was trained on real-life password data. It's what is called a neural network, and it's really good at guessing passwords. So we asked the question, how long will AI take to crack our passwords? And the answer is that AI will crack them way faster than you think. Like, way faster. Turns out, even if you are using what you think is a strong password, it might be crackable in a matter of minutes. As you see the results of our study on screen, here are the key takeaways. 51% of passwords can be cracked in less than a minute. 65% of common passwords can be cracked in less than an hour. 71% of common passwords can be cracked in less than a day. And 81% of common passwords are crackable in less than a month. In less than 6 minutes, PassGAN can crack any kind of 7-character or less password. Yes, even if it contains symbols. The good news is that these annoyingly long passwords greater than 18 characters are typically safe against PassGAN. For now, at least. That's because it takes PassGAN 10 months to crack number-only passwords and 6 quintillion years, which we will attempt to visualize on your screen here, but I don't know if this is physically possible, to crack 18-character passwords that contain letters, both upper and lowercase, numbers, and symbols. So what should your takeaways be from this sort of horrifying study? Here are a few things you need to know. First, don't use leet speak in your passwords. You might not be familiar with the term leet speak, but you are probably familiar with the concept, which is essentially replacing letters with numbers. So in leet speak, for example, like you see on the screen here, an E would be replaced with a 3. The problem with leet speak is it's essentially an if-then statement: if E, then 3, and if there's one thing that computers are really good at, it's if-then logic. Next up, avoid obvious password patterns, because that means that when, not if, but when one of your passwords is breached, that pattern could be potentially applied to other accounts that you own. Use at least 15 characters in your passwords. Include at least 2 upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols in that password. Change your passwords every 3 to 6 months, and set up 2-factor authentication using a service like Authy. Finally, remember that the most secure password in the world is not secure if it's stored in a notebook somewhere that somebody can access. And finally, the most important takeaway in this video, so if you're still with me, thank you. This is a very important message. Don't think that just because your password length means you are safe and secure today, that is going to be the case tomorrow. The key property of AI is that it is rapidly evolving and rapidly becoming more and more intelligent. It is training itself on millions of data sets globally as we speak. So don't be arrogant and think that because today it's going to take 30,000 years to crack your password using AI, that's going to be the case tomorrow. It's not. This is computing. It's advancing at exponential speeds. So assume a linear rate of progress, not a standard one. Now what you see on the screen here, this is our password tool, and you can head over to the link in the video description to test it out yourself. My recommendation is you input maybe your password formats, but do not input your specific passwords into the tool. No, of course, we aren't collecting your password data. This is not some sort of insane password honeypot scheme, but we want everybody watching this video to be extremely privacy conscious and keep third-party risk to a minimum. So for example, when you're using this tool, if your password is my dumb password, don't put that in. You could put in something like my password is dumb, and then be shocked when you see how quickly the AI would be able to guess it. If you've made it this far, I thank you for your time, and I will see you in the next video, which is going to autoplay here. Take care, stay safe.